Steve Jobs said that innovation is what separates the leaders and the followers. And in this quick video here, you and I are going to be discussing how you can innovate your presentations, your message, your public speaking engagement so that you can make more money, you can help more people, and you can be more fulfilled. This is Roberto Monaco here. Now, if I'm going to talk about innovation, guess what? I have to go first. Leaders go first. So I want to share with you a quick story that happens last month that I innovate my presentation a lot. By the way, I'm always trying to innovate, but that one was like outside the box for me. And the results were awesome for our company. So then after my talk, I analyzed my presentation. I wrote down 7 things that I did. I want to share with you these 7 steps that I did so that you can apply into your business and you can also innovate and make more money, have more fun, and help more people. So let me give create a context here. I was invited to speak to this group, and I'd done 4 events for them previously. Now, every time I went and spoke for this group, I would say that around 20% of the people already knew who I was. And around 80% is always new crowd, new audience. So when they invited me to speak again for the 5th time, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a different talk. I was actually starting to prepare a different presentation, and then I stop and ask myself, you know what? I wanna do something that I've never done before. I'm just gonna show up. By the way, the talk was 90 minutes. I'm just gonna show up and answer questions for 90 minutes. And then in the end, if they like my answers, I'm gonna invite them to come to our class. And then in a moment that I made this decision, my mind goes, man, you cannot do that. You gotta have a talk. You train people on how to speak. What if nobody asks you questions? And what if you're not persuasive enough? What is like, is a terrible experience for them? And I had all these limitations in my head. It's like, no, you know what? I know that's gonna be awesome because I'm gonna answer specifically what they need to grow. So that's what I did. I decided to do it, and I was a little bit nervous, right? Because I never done that before. I never show up to an audience and say, hey, 90 minutes, let's go. I usually have a talk, a presentation ready to go. So the person who introduced me, a very close friend of mine, he introduced me, and I did the talk, and that was awesome. And in the end of the talk, I actually was promoting one of our classes, and the results were awesome. So let me share with you exactly the 7 things that I did that you can do the same thing. Well, the first thing that I did, step number 1 here, I took some notes here for you to record this video. I took risks because I never show up in a group, there's around 200 people there, and say, I don't have a talk, I don't have slides, I don't have a theme. My theme is I'm gonna answer any questions you have about public speaking, presentation influence, which is a big umbrella, but I knew I was confident, so I took risks. So if you want to innovate anything you do, especially your presentation, you got to take risks. Number 2, I frame questions. Now, the reason I framed questions was because the whole 90 minutes was about them asking me questions. And the way I frame it, I told a story where I asked myself a question, and then I got the answer. I act upon the answer and change my life. So then I create this theme where I said, look, questions can be life-changing when you follow through with the answer. So repeat 3 or 4 times, right? I use the power of repetition. Questions can be life-changing when you follow through with the answer. So I told a story, I repeat that phrase a couple times. That was the theme, so that when they ask the question, I give the answer, then they're gonna act upon it. So I framed the need to ask questions, the importance of having the answer for the question. Number 3, I defined the context. Obviously, the overall context of my talk was about growing their business with public speaking presentation. I wasn't there to talk about accounting or finances because I'm not qualified to do that. There's other people better than I am. So I had the overall context. Number 4, after I frame the context and the need to ask questions, people start asking me questions, obviously. And number 4, I acknowledge them, and then I repeat the question out loud so that I want to make sure everybody in the room could hear. Very simple. And then question number 5, which is kind of like advanced, but I want to share with you, that is you see, when I communicate to groups, I always have a structure. I always have a structure in my mind because structure gives you freedom. And in my opinion, what you're doing in a talk is more important than what you're saying. This is an advanced InfluenceOlogy concept, but basically what you're doing in a presentation is more important than what you're saying. So every question that someone asked me, first I repeat out loud, so now everybody knew, and then what I did in my mind, for every question, I transformed the question into problem. Okay, so problem number 1. Number 2, implication of the problem. Number 3, I talk about solution. I want to give them 1 or 2 ideas to solve the problem right there. Number 4, I talk about benefit by illustrating with a story. So let me say again. So every question that someone asks me, I transform the question into what? Problem. Then I talk about the implication of the problem. Then I talk about the solution. So the audience obviously feels like they got value. And number 4, I told the story about the benefit of my solution. So let me give an example here. So let's say someone asked me, by the way, the talk was 90 minutes, so I got all kinds of questions. But someone asked me about how to overcome the fear of speaking. So I transformed the question into problem. I say, yeah, fear of public speaking is a problem for 75% of Americans. See, I transformed the question to problem, the implication. And I realized that some people, when they don't speak, end up costing them money or impact or purpose. Then I tell a story about someone who's not speaking. So I make the problem an implication. Now, why am I doing that? So now, so everybody in the room, even if they're not thinking about the problem or the question, they realize, man, this problem may be impacting me as well. Then, obviously, I offer solution. In that example here, my fear example, I talk about change of focus, because when you stop focusing on yourself and you focus on your audience, fear goes away. And then I tell a story about someone who came to our classes and had fear, went through a process, and now is speaking, and the benefit is they're helping more people make more money, having more fun. See, I transform a question into problem, talk about the implication of the problem, solution, I give some awesome ideas, and then I tell the benefits by telling a story. So that's the process I did for 90 minutes. So people had different questions, obviously a different question about, let's say, how you organize a talk or how you close or whatever. And I was following the same process: problem, implication, solution, benefit. And I told the story illustrating about someone that I helped. Very powerful. That was number 5. Number 6, I linked to my offer. As I was answering these questions, what I did, my offer was the Influence for the Front class that I do. So throughout, not every single answer, but maybe, let's say, I don't remember, maybe if they ask me 20 questions, maybe around 5 to 10 questions, I was seeding or linking our event, Influencing for the Front. So I said, for example, let me tell a story about someone who came to my class. So when I gave the solution and I told the benefits, the story, I linked to my event. So I mentioned my event. I said, hey, by the way, this person here came to our class, Influence for the Front. See, I mentioned my class 3 or 4 times or 5 times or 10 times, I don't remember. But I mentioned several times so that by the time I actually went to the close, the audience already knew. So it's very cool. And obviously, step number 7 here, I have a list of questions prepared in case nobody had a question to ask me. Right? But obviously, in a group of 200 people, they had a lot of questions about public speaking. So I'm going to repeat it again. This is a very cool process that I come up with, because now I can go, as long as the context is something that I do, I can show up and no talk. How cool is that? No presentation, no slides, nothing. Just show up and be super relevant to them, add the value, and then obviously if they feel like in, let's say, half an hour, 2 hours, I add value, guess what? They want to spend more time with me in our classes. So the 7 things that I did: number 1, took risks. Number 2, I framed the importance of questions. Number 3, I defined the context. In my case, was public speaking, presentation, influence. Number 4, I acknowledge the audience, the question, and I make sure I repeat out loud so everybody knew the question. Number 5, I made the question super persuasive. I used the format. I transformed the question into problem, implication, solution, benefit. And the benefit, I told about a story about a client that I had that we were able to help. Number 6, as I was answering these questions, some of them I was linking or seeding to my offer in the end of my talk, so they knew the name of my offer or they knew what my program is about. And number 7, I had a list of questions prepared so that in case for 90 minutes, if nobody asked me a question, which is rare, I had a list to say. I would say something like, hey, for example, some of the other audiences, they usually ask me this question, and then I have a question ready to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a little longer here, I know, but I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I inspire you today to innovate your next talk. For more information on how you can grow your business with communication, public speaking, presentation, influence, just go to www.influenceology.com. Again, www.influenceology.com. And if you watch this video on YouTube, just subscribe to our channel. Adios.